Can we talk about plant fat as it relates to our brain and our high functioning brain? I have a superstition that I completely realize is that anytime before I speak, I have a coconut water and like a large handful of almonds, and I feel like it's the fat in the nuts that makes me be able to be quick on my feet or be able to remember well. And I did low oil for a little while, and I'm just one person, and it could have been psychosomatic, but I felt groggier. I didn't feel as sharp. My short-term memory wasn't as good, and I started to feel a little sad. So. And now I don't eat low or high oil. I don't really think about it that much, but there's some nice olive oil in my salad dressings. And I definitely love going to restaurants and dining with my husband back in the day when we used to be able to go outside and go to restaurants. I miss that. And so, I have a friend who I think is for sure orthorexic, and she's in a pretty big spiral of depression right now, and never has been her whole life. So what is the connection? Like, what kind of fats do we need? And specifically as it relates to our brain function?
Yeah, so, all of the macronutrients, whether it's protein, carbohydrate, or fat, our bodies need all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Fat is really critical for cell membranes, and it's really critical for brain function because in our cell membranes, the types of fats in our cell membranes affect the permeability, the shape, the flexibility, the cell-to-cell communication between cells. All of that is affected by what fats are there. When those cell membranes are filled with trans fats and too many saturated fats, it dumbs them down. It makes our cells stupid, basically. And so in our brains, the fats that become really critical, we need all kinds of fats, but we really need the long-chain omega-3 fatty acids, like especially DHA for brain function. And EPA is also associated quite strongly with depression. And so we need these long-chain fats. And so that's one of the reasons a lot of people say that plant-based diets are inadequate because we don't directly consume EPA and DHA. Generally, that's from fish. And unless you're taking, again, a lot of people don't realize, but fish get their long-chain omega-3 fatty acids from plants in the ocean, which are called microalgae. They're very tiny plants that kind of move up the food chain to get into the fish. And so, of course, we can get them from the microalgae as well in supplement form. But a lot of people, there's tremendous controversy about whether or not we need these. And the reality is that we really don't know for sure. What we do know is that young women, premenopausal women, tend to have a really good ability to convert alpha-linolenic acid into EPA and DHA. And they convert probably the one study that really quantified it was a study from the UK, and they had about a 36% conversion, which is really quite phenomenal, to either EPA, which is eicosapentaenoic acid, DPA, or DHA, which is docosahexaenoic acid. And so one of those three things, 36% was converted. Whereas in young men, they converted, I think it was 16%, 8% to EPA and 8% to DPA, and none to DHA, none at all. And so this made people think, well, can men convert? Can even postmenopausal women convert? And we don't know for sure how well they're converting. The bottom line is that what we do know is that people who have good omega-3 status tend to be at reduced risk for certain conditions, and possibly including depression. And so in my view, I think it makes sense to have a diet that includes, I don't think you have to include oil, but if you don't include oil, I think you need to include a reasonable amount of avocado, nuts, and seeds. So a lot of my salad dressings are hemp seeds, cashews, tahini, so these nut and seed butters. or hemp seeds is one of my favorite things to include. And so they're high in fat, but it's whole food fats. And so you can do it either way. You can use small amounts of oil, or you can use some nuts and seeds or avocados or whatever. But I don't think it's great for a lot of people to go too low in fat unless you're, really trying to do the Esselstyn heart disease reversal diet because you have severe coronary artery disease. But for most, other reasonably healthy people, you want to include enough fat for healthy hair, healthy skin, healthy brain, healthy cell membranes. And so there are a variety of ways of doing that. But I think it's really important to do that. And so do I recommend EPA and DHA? Well, I'll tell you, because we don't know, and I know it's very controversial, what I say at this stage is I see no reason not to. And I know Michael Clapper's been saying, well, it could downregulate our ability to convert ALA. But if you look at the general population and the people that eat 2 or 3 servings of fish a week, if you had 2 or 3 supplements of microalgae-based omega-3s a week, it would be similar to doing that, which is really quite standard for humans over many, centuries. So I just don't see a big problem with doing that. And for me, I would rather see a little better level of DHA and EPA in vegans than what we often see. And the people that do get tested often have somewhat low levels of especially DHA, but often EPA as well. So for me, I think it's quite reasonable to include plenty of ALA. And ALA you're looking at, that's alpha-linolenic acid, and it comes from chia seeds, flax seeds, hemp seeds, walnuts. Leafy greens are about half the fat is ALA, but they're so low in fat you have to eat like a horse or a cow to get enough of them. So, we need about 2 to 4 grams a day. You'd need 20 to 40 cups of leafy greens to give you that.
Okay.
So including some seeds, like a tablespoon of ground flax, a tablespoon of chia seeds, 2 tablespoons of hemp seeds, an ounce of walnuts would do the trick. But then you still have to wonder, is my body converting? And as we get older, conversion ability declines. If you have diabetes or you have hypertension, conversion ability is reduced. So there are lots of people who may not be very good converters. Men aren't as efficient. And the reason young men aren't as efficient as young women is young women have to be prepared to support the life of a young baby, right? A fetus. And that fetus needs to grow a brain. And so they need to be able to convert really well to give that brain enough DHA. So those are, factors involved. But I'm on the same page as you. I really do think getting enough healthy fat is really helpful and not harmful to health.